Sebastian Construction Board. We'll have a pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We'll now have the roll call.
Ms. Carbano,
Here.
Mr. Fortier,
He's absent.
Mr. Monero,
Here.
Mr. Crockett,
Here.
Mr. Hosey.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay. We'll go ahead with the minutes from our last meeting, March 28th. Do we have any changes, or are they okay?
They look okay.
Okay. Do you want to make the motion, or would you like me to?
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes from March 28th, 2017.
I'll second that. Okay. Now, any announcements? We do have announcements. We had a member
Roll
leave.
call? We need a roll.
Oh, I'm sorry. A roll call for that, I'm sorry.
Ms. Carbano,
Yes.
excuse me, Mr. Monero,
Yes.
Mr. Crockett,
Yes.
Mr. Hosey.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. It passed, so we'll go on to this, the announcements. We had Letitia Hayes, she left, I believe she moved out of the area, and we have someone new. His name is Jock Crockett. He's from down south, so I'm sure he has a lot of good experience. Welcome, Jock.
Thank you.
Old business, we have none. New business, we'll go on to the renewal. Would you like to make the presentation, Wayne?
This case is a matter of Mr. Richard Russell. He's an irrigation contractor. His license number is 1423. Mr. Russell is seeking board approval to reinstate his license. His original license expired on 9/30/2004. The applicable code section is section 26168C of the City Code of Ordinances. And it states a certificate which is inoperative because of failure to renew failure to renew shall be restored on payment of the proper renewal fee. And then the last sentence is the key sentence here is a certificate which is not renewed within 3 full years after expiration may not be renewed, restored, or reinstated thereafter except by reapplication and reexamination. So as you know, we don't sponsor anybody to take tests anymore. So that would require them to, if they're retested, they'd have to retest somewhere else. So Mr. Russell is here to appeal to the board for this as, I guess, a waiver of this code requirement, because he took the exam in 2001, expired in 2004, but you can see by the backup materials that he has maintained an active license in Indian River County from 2001 to 2016.
Okay.
Question?
Sure.
Is Mr. Russell eligible to get a license based on reciprocation from Indian River County? He has a current license
Well,
there.
the thing is, Indian River County reciprocated from us.
Okay, so his original license
Yeah.
was for the city of Sebastian,
Yes.
and then he asked for reciprocation
To-
into Indian River.
Right. And
So
what
he's
he-
coming backwards.
And so what he didn't do was maintain it here, which doesn't allow us to reciprocate his license again anywhere else, or actually for him to work here, because his license would be expired. So Mr. Russell can speak for himself as to why he wants to keep his license up, and imagine he found this out. This happens a lot. A lot of times contractors don't realize that they need to maintain their license here if they expect us to do a reciprocal agreement. It's the way our ordinance is written. And so, we've given some latitude if it's close, if it looks like they've been in business, but then we've been before the board a number of times before with the same situation where somebody has let it lapse for quite a bit longer than 3 years, and they can basically, I leave it up to the board. If the board decides that he deserves to keep his license, then we're okay with that. He'll have to pay some fees and things to get it reinstated.
He could have gone on inactive during that
He could
period.
have, for
'Cause
$10 a year.
Apparently, he wasn't working up here during that period, but he could have gone on inactive.
He may be have been, he has to speak for himself, but maintained a license in Indian River County, but not here. So he probably was working, I would imagine.
I have one question on that. When you first get your license in the city of Sebastian, don't you normally have to get your occupancy license or your
Yes.
business
Business
license
tax.
as well?
You do if you're a resident of the city of Sebastian, yes.
Okay.
But if you're a resident of Vero, Port St. Lucie, wherever, you get your
Okay.
business tax there, wherever you're from.
Okay, well, that's what I'm getting at is with my personal licenses, in order to renew Vero, I have to have this one renewed as well. So that was what I was asking about.
Okay, are there any other questions? I guess we'll call Mr. Russell up and let him give us, his,
Yes.
okay, your name and address, please?
Richard Shane Russell, 1290 12th Street Southwest, Vero Beach, Florida, 32962.
Okay. I just want to ask you, why was it that you didn't put your license on inactive? You didn't realize you had to?
No, ma'am, I did not. At that time, excuse me, I was 28 years old. I was just looking to work for myself. I admit I'm not a paper business person. My trade, I know my trade very well. You give me the tools, I can go perform anything. I left that to a lady that I had doing my stuff for me. Come to find out she wasn't doing so well. Here I am a decade later, I wasn't doing any work in here. And at that time, when I'd first gotten my license, Sebastian wasn't requiring anybody to pull any permits to do anything. So how could you know that you had a licensed contractor or not a licensed contractor doing work in here? Port St. Lucie as well. They just adopted that a few years back. The only time that y'all required a permit was when you connected to domestic water for the home. You could have a well drilled strictly for irrigation. You could have a guy from out of town. Anybody could have done that at that point.
Yeah.
I wasn't doing any work up in here. I was focusing down in my neighborhood and on the beach side where the money was at. I got a call to do some work up here in a community. So I come in here to see what I could do. I'd also like to be able to branch out. I have a couple clients that would like for me to go to Melbourne and Stewart. I can't go anywhere unless I have that letter of reciprocity to go to somewhere else. So I'm here to beg. If you say that I can't because of the statute that's there, I understand that. So the decision is up to y'all, really. Either you say that I'm willing to pay the fine, to make it current. It's up to y'all.
If I may interject just for a second, one of the things that he said, just wanted to verify, he's right about that. Irrigation permits, we weren't getting any irrigation permits for a long time. That was probably, I'm going to guess, but about 5 years ago maybe is when we started that.
Okay, so it wasn't even anything that they needed to do. Okay, I'll open it for questions.
Being new to the board and not knowing
Sure.
that much about the various requirements, is there a way for Mr. Russell to rectify his situation by paying fees to get reinstated in Sebastian?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. So, what we have done in the past and what our resolution for fees say is, Resolution R 1220 is, says if renewed more than 1 year but less than 3 years from the previous expiration date, it's $75 each year. So it's the pleasure of the board, but if he was to pay the 75 for every year that he was delinquent up until 2016, that's 12 years. That's $75 a year, that's $900. And then the current year, because he'd be paying in June or July, from April to September, it's $60 for the current year. So total to bring him up to current would be $960 if you choose to go that route with the $75 per year. But that is what our ordinance says, so if you don't pay and you let it lapse for more than a year, it's $75 per year and up to 3 years, and that's because the 3 years has to do with our ordinance. So that's typical payment.
Mr. Russell, are you in a position to be able to do that?
Yes, sir, I am.
Are you ready for a motion, Madam Chairman?
Not for a minute. Let's give the other two gentlemen a chance. I'm just reading from that code of ordinances. It's may not be it says a certificate which is not renewed within 3 full years after expiration may not be renewed, restored, or reinstated thereafter except by reapplication or reexamination.
I'm actually curious. I remember when this stuff started needing, permits, irrigation and stuff like that. Well, when did that start? Do you know exactly?
Like I was saying before, I know it's in this resolution in 2012, where we have irrigation permits in our fee schedule, so it was around that time.
Okay, well, what I can understand is that when you first start doing business, and if you don't need a permit in a municipality, then you kind of get that in your brain.
Right.
And then it's not like you guys send out a letter to say, okay, now you
Right.
need a permit for this, and I understand the little lapse there.
Right.
So,
Yeah, we would have still required you to have a licensed contractor if you're doing
I
irrigation. Did it
understand.
require a permit? No, not until around that time when we decided that, these pumps are getting hooked up and things like that, and that was something we felt that we needed to look at. It wasn't so much the irrigation portion of it as it was the pumps.
right, okay.
And the reason that we are the main board that he's coming to, that he got his license from, is because at the time, we were the ones that were sponsoring anyone.
Correct.
Because the county didn't sponsor
Right.
anyone.
He did pay for the first 3 years, from
Yeah.
2001 when he got his license to
I saw that.
2004.
I saw that.
He did keep his license current, but then, for whatever reason, it lapsed.
The exam results we have here, is it, that exam it's by the city of Sebastian? Or
We
was?
s-
No.
Go ahead. Well, we sponsor the applicant, They can't take the exam unless they have someone who sponsors them, a board that sponsors them. So at that time, we were licensing contractors where they would come to this board and apply. And then once they got the approval from the board, then they were allowed to take the, I think it was Block and Associates at that time.
Experior assessment.
Superior, one of those two would have been the ones, the testing agency that would have gave the test.
And was that a state level test or what?
No, it's local. No, so this is not state level in any way, not registered, not certified. This is just a local license. So in order for him to, so the way it works is he gets a license here. He can only work in Sebastian. But if he decides to branch out to Vero, Port St. Lucie, anywhere else, they have the same requirements we do. They don't make them retest. They just say, hey, go get a letter of reciprocity.
Right.
And they'll reciprocate the license because they'll look at the test results, see that he passed, and they'll just give him a new license.
Right.
Well, that's where the exam was taken, and that's where the original certificate came from.
Yes.
From
Right.
Sebastian.
Yes, originally
That's-
came from
yeah.
Sebastian.
Consequently, then they would reciprocate with that.
Yes. So now he's in a position where he may want to branch out to Melbourne or something, but he can't unless he gets that letter of reciprocity. And at this point, we can't give it to him. Unless the board decides it's okay to reinstate his license. So, again, the code says what it says, but I give people the opportunity, if they want to appeal it, to come here, speak to you all. If you decide that you feel that he's deserving to keep his license, then you can rule that way, and we'll get it reinstated for him, and, because, quite honestly, a lot of them didn't know it. And then we had that downturn in the economy, so a lot of people got caught up in that. But it looks like at least Mr. Russell here has kept his license active somewhere else, so that does show
Right,
some good faith.
that he wants to work.
Can I ask you a question? Mr. Russell,
Yes, sir.
have you been working pretty much constantly under your either Vero Beach or your Indian
Yes, sir.
River?
Yes, at one time,
Certificate?
I had to have a license for Orchid Island just to work in there as well. Back when I had my company, when I first started out, I was in there quite a bit, so it was worth it for me to do that. Indian River Shores as well. I have to keep a current license in there. That, because it's right there on the beach, I have some customers that live in there. I keep
So
that
you're
up.
currently in business and doing your work?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I mean,
Question,
Can I speak for?
yeah, go ahead.
If y'all deny me, what I have to do is I either have to go to Port St. Lucie or another county and apply for the test. So either way, I'm spending money. And then I can come back here and just pay you $75 and work in your town. Or I can give you almost $1,000, and it's gonna cost me every bit of that to go retake the test, because then I'm gonna be missing work for 2 days. I have to buy the books again. Those are about $600. So either way, I have to spend money, and it's up to y'all guys whether you reinstate me and take the bulk of the money here, or I can go somewhere else and jump through, do what I have to do over there, and then come back.
This question I had was, do you have personal liability insurance and the property insurance and the
Yes,
workman's
sir.
comp?
Yes, sir. I have WC and liability.
Okay.
Do you have employees?
No, ma'am.
No, it's just you.
No, at one time I did. When I had a company, if you look on the records there, in 2012, I sold my business.
Okay,
And
I
to-
saw there were name changes.
Right, in 2014, I went back to work for myself, solely by myself. I can make just as much money without the headaches or the responsibilities of other people depending on me for income.
Mr. Russell, if the board were to see its way clear to reinstate your license with the fine that was discussed earlier, would you rather do that or go and take the examination over somewhere and get another license, or what? Because you've mentioned that you could do that, yes, obviously, you could do that.
Yes,
You
sir,
could do it here.
I could,
You could do it
yes.
here.
But see, y'all guys don't sponsor anymore. Indian River County doesn't sponsor. The next place would be Port St. Lucie. So I would have to go there, you know.
There in
All
Brevard.
That's all time, you know. I have to go down there, get the paperwork,
Yeah,
fill that out, you know. So either it's cost me what y'all guys want, or it's gonna cost me more than that to get the piece of paper to come back to you to pay you $75. I'm willing to pay for all the years that I missed. I admit, very much delinquent on the time frame, very
would you
much.
rather reinstate your license here in Sebastian?
Yes, sir, I would.
Okay. Wayne, would you like to summarize? You can sit down first.
Thank you.
And do you need to summarize, or we're okay?
Unless there's any questions from the board, I think
Yeah.
it's been pretty well.
All right. I'm just
Discussed.
reading Robert's notes, that's,
Okay.
okay. All right. Do we need to deliberate, or anybody have a motion, or?
What was the figure if he brought it all up to date?
The total to bring him up current is $960.
How much was that?
$960?
960?
960?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll move that the board reinstate Mr. Russell's license after a payment of $960.
I second.
Okay, we'll have a roll call for the motion.
Ms. Carbano?
No?
Mr. Monero?
Yes.
Mr. Crockett?
Yes?
Mr. Hosey?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you very much. You're okay. $960, pay the man. No, just kidding. Okay.
Do I come back tomorrow? See her? Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, gentlemen.
You're welcome. We'll go on to board matters. None. We took care of our announcements earlier. No attorney here. 15 minutes to the public. None. And do you have anything, Wayne?
None at this time.
Okay, well, we're adjourned at 6.